Greetings, everyone. We want to thank you for joining us on the Sabbath Builds, especially joining us on this special edition. This is going to be an episode where all the women from House of Yuya are building on one of Chief's Sabbath teaching, the investment in the infinite. So be sure to like, share, and subscribe, of course, all things House of Yuya. And with that being said, sit back, relax, and enjoy this build. Peace.
Being invested in the infinite. I never thought of it like that, the way that it was put today, like being invested in the infinite. At the same time, I could see how what we are doing now and what we're being guided and instructed to do, as far as how we live our lives, how we affirm and how we move spiritually, is teaching us to be invested in how we invest in the even in how we like affirm every day, like even regardless of whether we all make it or not, but it's the constant movement that put us in alignment with that investment. Like, so even if we think of it as like investment, and I'm not like financially savvy, but we did have some lessons. But even if we think about it in how we invest, like you have to be in the spaces where people are doing that so that you can learn. You have to kind of go get the information. You have to do the work. You have to do the actions that kind of put you in alignment in that way. And that's just like the worldly, like physical, like investing in something. So it's the same thing when it comes to spiritually. We have to do those things that prove that we're invested in that space. So that's kind of like the bare bones of what I got from today, and I was very grateful for it.
Yeah, it's like the unseen are the promises and the seen are the vows. So like affirming from standing on the promises and affirming from that place is what keeps us in alignment to be able to reconstruct reality and move in the walk in the ways that we're supposed to walk in that obedience, and not like deviating from what's been promised and I guess crossing it with our own will, our own desire, but standing firm on what we've been told we can do and we can have, as long as we are walking in righteous ways.
Yeah, like even when he talked about like the creation of the bastard, it's to me, it was similar to like, well, I'm just gonna do this right now because this is what seems good, feels good, you know. It's fun. I'm gonna invest in what's fun, and we all do. Like, well, I want to do this right now because I want to feel good. Like I've even said that, like, oh, I don't feel happy or I don't feel good. So you want to invest in like, well, I want to do what feels good right now, and that's not keeping my eye on the infinite, the Ein Sof, something that lasts longer than whatever this stupid little thing that I want to do is right now that's going to make me feel better. You know, what this pot I want to buy, or anything, like anything material. Like I'm just trying to think of like a tangible thing, or a book that I want to read, or something that in no way, shape, or form really puts me into that alignment with Ein Sof. Like it's just something for the right now and something I want to do. And then even if it is talking about like, you know, rearing a family, like do I have what it takes, and have I put in the investment? Because I think he did mention something like that. Did you put in the work and the investment to be able to reap those things? And if not, then whatever you create is going to be bastardized product of something, whether it's a child or anything that you produce.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. No. Go.
Double Dutch.
When he started talking about bastard, the Deuteronomy 23:2, I think I jotted it down. I thought about when he said, "Where do you place your investment?" I remember being in high school, when I was in middle school, transitioning into high school. I was going into this performing arts school where you got all these kids from all over Savannah. I went in for art. I didn't know anything about art outside of just taking a piece of paper and a number 2 pencil and just drawing, or some crayons and color pencils. Got into the school, but there's like a bunch of non-melanated people who parents had the money to buy them, you know, all these expensive art supplies. So they showing up with these huge charcoal paintings and portfolios. And I just got a book with regular piece of paper, and, you know. But my father did not allow me to go out and do what I wanted to do. Like throughout the whole summer, it was like every day I'm waking up and I'm drawing. I'm going to sleep late at night drawing. It's like every day I'm just constantly investing in that. And when I got into that space as a freshman, I had people who were like in their senior year saying, oh my gosh, like, why can't I draw like that? Or what, you know, da, da, da. But there was something, obviously, that was more closer to my nature. It was like that time that I was investing in drawing and not investing in, you know, necessarily the supplies, or investing in just going out and doing what I wanted to do. I was growing closer and closer to what was, you know, truly, for me, my potential. It was evolving.
That was perfect double dutch, because what I was going to share connects directly to what you just shared in your personal story. It sounds like a reflection of what Chief was speaking about, right? Bringing what is internal, which is the unseen, out. And I mean, and we're taught it in so many different ways, right? If what I'm bringing out is ugly, if what I'm bringing out is nasty, that's what's inside. Mm-hmm. Whether I'm willing to accept it or not, I can only bring forth what's already in me anyway. So yeah, you may not have had the fancy implements, but what was created and cultivated inside could only continue to come out. And that's similar to one of the I think it's similar to an example that he used in the segment where he spoke about investments. It's like your investment starts from nothing. Like you started with nothing, and then if you gain knowledge, or you receive, as Yafe said, we've been given instruction. So the reality is we shouldn't not know, because at this point we've been given instruction, and if we've moved in those instruction, then it's like if we're taking the food and we're eating it, and not like I used to keep, my family used to call me chipmunk, because I would keep food in my cheeks that I didn't want, and just kind of keep them in my cheeks, and I could talk because it'd be in my cheek, and they're like, well, what'd you do? I'm like, well, I ate. The food is not on my plate. I'm finished. And I like, can I go to the bathroom? And they're like, no, you need to swallow the food. So it's like, you know, that slow down and eat your food kind of thing. If we are eating the food, then we'll get the sustenance and the nutrients from it. Then we're able to see that investment grow. Like, right, we can see that, oh, okay, all right. Or you'll see, all right, you know what, I need to divest. I need to take a few dollars out of over here, because this is going down, and I need to move it over here. That's also, to me, I think that's also that investing and reproducing from nothing, because it's like you have to know what's producing from what isn't, and how to maneuver and navigate beyond, like he said, beyond life, right? Like that's one way of reproducing, but there are so many others, and we're never taught that outside of this space, right? We're taught one way of reproducing, one way of procreating, but that's not the case. That's not the case at all. And it's almost, I would almost, like when I listen to it, I almost imagine us not having the practice of producing, like going to traditional school, not being as creative. Like I've said it before, I had no creative outlets as a youth. I had one thing, and it was figure out the way you're going to make money, and that's it. And then spend it, and that's it. And maybe to some degree it was even from that place of, I can't take none of this with me, so I'm just gonna buy everything I want to buy that I enjoy, that I want to eat. I'm gonna go to restaurants where there are 7 courses, and that's what I want to experience, and it's gonna be amazing. And yeah, I can still remember the memories of those things, but those things aren't going to fill my children with anything but that. What's this in my? What is this? What is the bitterness? So those were a few of my thoughts.
Even that part about creating from nothing, I'm thinking about the darkness of nothing. Like that's that carbon. So even as you're talking about the drawing all the time, you're drawing all these things where you getting the thought to draw the things that you're drawing. And even I know like when I've crocheted, it's like there's a ball of yarn, there's a needle, and it's nothing. But then it just turns into something totally different. I know even it was a piece that I've actually deconstructed to reconstruct, and because crocheting ain't like sewing, but even in that I'm learning like, yo, I really can do this, because I remember when I put it together, the way I put it together wasn't originally how I thought I would put it together. But here I am deconstructing it, and the way I put it together was beneficial for the deconstruction process. So like even, I don't know, it just, the darkness gives you what you need to bring it to the light for it to make sense, even when it doesn't seem like it's making sense. And I know someone was watching me. She was like, well, how you going to do this? And how you going to do it? I don't know, but I'm going to do it. Like, and I didn't know. Still don't know. But once I start, I know, like, all right, it's coming. It's coming. I don't know where it's coming from, but it's coming. And it's coming from that dark carbon nothingness place.
Yeah. I understand what you mean, because it's like you look at like when you're creating, you look at your supplies and it's like, what am I gonna do with that? And then you turn around like hours or days later and it's like, oh, that was like just a bunch of raw materials at one point, and then I created something out of nothing. And even in that, it takes me back to like the I don't know if the right way to say, like the God part, not particle, but like it's kind of like the how you're a reflection of the Most High. It's I guess it's that melanin, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there are people who have activated it or accessed it on a deeper level. Like, and we all, like he said, we all have it. And that takes me back to like, even Edom has it, even Edomites, they have it. Everybody has melanin. They got brown hair and brown eyes. They've got melanin somewhere. They just have less than some of us. But there's still some of us who have more melanin, but maybe we haven't activated it yet. And then you see like how that kind of manifests. But I did want to go back to the idea of like thinking like, well, when we compare ourselves, and like even thinking about like your story, Margie, like how many times, like, and that we know now as adults, like that you do have parents who kind of, they want their child to be something special, so they have the resources and they give them all these things, but there really isn't a talent there. But then because you see them dressed up, and this goes even for adults, we see people dressed up in all the haberdashery, we assume that there's a know-how or an actual skill or talent there, when it's really just nothing being hidden behind. And the nothing that we think we're working with, it actually is something. It may not be something physical that we see, but it's inside, and then we have to push it out. So like then you find out like you're actually more skilled than all these little well-to-do rich kids with all their charcoal and their easels and stuff that their parents probably forced on them because they're trying to brag to somebody that they're special when they're really not.
Yeah. And I think about also, we as like melanated people in general have always created something out of nothing. I mean, think about the whole concept of hip hop and how that was created. It was like nobody, with people who are not melanated, they're always, it's like they're looking the opposite. They have to recreate what's already been created. But with melanated people, it's like we're creating from that space of infinite possibilities. It just comes out of us. It's like, so I just see like, yeah, that's why we're always the people that's being looked at. The world looks at us as the, what to do next, because we're just constantly creating from that space. So
Yeah, that reminds me of when she spoke about like Satan like copying everything that the divine does, and it makes me think of like if you're a person that copies other people, then what are you're working from that energy. It's like you're not pulling from your divine nature. And I would say what stuck out to me is when she mentioned like when people look at others and they be like, oh, I want that, I want to have that, but they didn't actually put the work in to be a person that will like manifest those things to them. So that stuck out to me. And also like pushing yourself outwards. And I just thought about like it just sent me more of like thinking about character development. That's where my mind went. That being the actual work. Like every day when you wake up, are you saying like, okay, let me look at the qualities of kind, compassionate. Am I like, okay, I'm going to be these things today? Like, am I really every day trying to become like, in a realistic way? That's where I'm thinking of in my mind, like, okay. And I even thought to myself, like, yeah, you need to sit down and think, like, anytime that you do have those thoughts, what is the block that comes up? Like, what is the thought that comes up that prevents you from pushing out in that way? And then I also thought about what he spoke about. He said, if you're going to be a truthful and honest person and you're afraid and you think of, if I hide out long enough, like Jonah, and he was saying, like, there's nowhere to run. So it's like, you're in this loop and it's like, okay, well, dang, it's nowhere to run. It's like, what the heck? Like a hamster on a wheel, and then like that was deep when he was saying, like, are you moving towards, what he said, like how Jonah was like, trying to commit suicide or something like that, but it's like instead of just what you're supposed to do, God like gave you instruction, like this is your calling, and you like, man, I'd rather exit this life than to do that. It's like, dang, like what is that? What the heck is that?
He didn't want to go and serve the people that Yah was sending him to go serve, and he was like, I'm not going to do that. But the thing about that is, then that means I have to consider how my ignorance, how my refusal to honor what I am being told to honor, when my refusal to see a person as my brother or my sister is going to mar my experience. And if I'm willing to end my life for that, for my ignorance, for my own apathy, for my own self-hatred. And the interesting part to me, like, because after that lesson, not this one, but that lesson that he shared about, Jonah being a racist, I went back and I looked at that particular scripture, and I remember reading where the waters got really rocky, and the scripture speaks about every man going to speak to his Elohim, his God. And I remember it because I remember messaging Chief like, yo, he so didn't want to follow Yah. He was with all the foreigners. Like, they don't even have the same Yah. They don't even, like, he like jumped into the belly of the beast and are literally riding along with these foreign people, these ungodly people and their lesser gods. And they're all praying to their God, to their Yah, like to their Elohim, like, please, like, what is happening? Save me. And he's not. He hiding because he knows, that's my pops. He gonna tear it up because he knows what I'm doing. He knows where I'm at. I ain't even gonna talk to him. I'm just gonna hide. And it's like, that's how jacked up we are. Like, can I see myself, right? It's always easy to be like, oh, that's crazy. Yeah, Jonah's suicidal. But it's like, these are stories about us. Yep. Like, we can't be boldly claiming being Hebrew and not realize this is the foulness that still exists right here, right now. In each of us. Like, there's no finger point even possible, because like you said in the last segment, what is it? 1 out here, 2 out here, is like 3 pointing back. So that, I think that to me, whenever I hear that Jonah story, before we even get to the belly of the whale or the, what did he say? Aquaman. I was like, what happened? What was he in? is that idea that he rather go run to a bunch of ungodly
God.
than to follow the instruction due to his own hatred.
Chief said, like, everybody has the opportunity to come into the truth. Everybody, like, at somewhere in our lives, we've all been given the truth. And some people choose to take the bait. Some people say, nah, I'm not gonna, because I don't wanna cover my head. I don't wanna, wear certain clothes that don't show off my body. I don't wanna live a life that says it's not what I wanna do, but it's being obedient to. So we choose to go and hide in foreign places. And well, now I'm a feminist. Oh, well, now love. So
Right. When I know he shared that story, at least internally, about not one, he was like, nah, if you tell me, then I'm responsible. I don't want to be responsible, so don't tell me. But it's like, if you know that, you're already responsible. If you know that much, you are responsible. So it's like anything you do after that to feign ignorance, there's still a karma for that, right? It's gonna come. It's gonna boomerang. That season is gonna come.
He was racist, so you actually went and spent time in a place you didn't want to go to this place because these people you don't like you don't like, you're racist, whatever. But then you go around these people who you still don't like. So like, how many times do we like do things that are just like, I don't know if the word is antithetical, like it just doesn't make sense.
But we do it all the time.
Yeah.
I don't want to not have headship, but I ain't gonna listen. I don't want to have pimples, but I'm gonna eat cake. I don't want to have fibroids, but I want cookies. It's like, yeah, it doesn't make sense, but it just speaks to just, again, how disjointed we are, how disconnected we are. Because if all we're doing is honoring headship and instruction, then my wants don't actually matter unless my want is to have the will of the Most High.
Yeah.
When Chief mentioned it's the melanin, but then what he said after was to confirm it's not subcutaneous melanin. It has nothing to do with the skin, but it is what is deposited internally. It snapped and it brought me to the perfect seed. The perfect seed, meaning it's what the Most High, that divine nature then, like it's what the Most High has implanted in us and not our environment, not the programming that we get that it's the black magic that we see. It's not that. And then I thought about how, there are people who want to be like Hebrew or want to be melanin, so to speak, so they learn the dances. But what about the people who are drawn to it because it's embedded in them? It is the Most High actually pulling them to self-express or to express, and we don't always see it, but we do, because sometimes we see them move, dance, or speak, and we're hearing something that aligns with us in a sense. So it's almost like those people who are called by my name. So if I'm called by the name of the Most High, it doesn't matter what my skin color actually look like, because I'm called. And I'm called based on what that divine nature is that's planted in me. The kingdom is not the four walls. It's not what we see in front of us. It's not even the mishpachah that we call mishpachah every day. It isn't even that, because even that is like a very small portion of what the expansion of the kingdom really is. And even thinking is just this, and I ain't that dark. But even when we say, oh, it's this, it ain't even that, because then that's like a small portion of what really is the variety of the kingdom of the Most High. And just, there was I think it was later on I think it was an hour and 2 minutes around that mark. He spoke about she spoke about, what are you investing for yourself? Are you an asset or a liability? And it brought me back to apology power, and how like the charge was like just being, live in the moment, live so much in the moment that every time you're doing something, I'm doing something, the charge is, am I depositing into this bucket? Yeah, I don't know if you all remember, but as a teacher I kind of remember there used to be this idea in school to kind of support youth to do well. So it would be like, what are you paying into the buckets? So if they do something good, you kind of say you deposit something good into their bucket. I think it was apples or something, you know. So I just, as he shared that, I'm thinking about asking myself, okay, how have I been a liability this strong, or an asset this strong? And not for me, you know, yes, as a woman, but not just for me. Yes, purpose is second, but you know, like my gender is first. So it's gender, then purpose. And I had to say, okay, have I been true to my gender? Like, have I been depositing consistently, being obedient, listening, or do I pause? Like me, I think the last piece I wanted to share was just the connection to the apology power, and the idea of being in the moment, because even in apology power, it feels like there's a thread where it was speaking to depositing into that our nature, our divine nature, like in the moment, and knowing it, you know, like it goes back to the example you gave, Akoti Yafe. Yeah, standing in the fridge and being like, oh yeah, no, the actual divine nature says this is what I should be eating consistently. This is what I should be drinking consistently. These are the words I should be speaking consistently. These are the things that I should be like taking in, receiving, whether it's physical food or auditory food, or you know, whatever it is. So yeah, it was a charge, but it was also me pausing, and I had to like say, okay, how many times this strong have I not? Have I, you know, like use that credit card? I guess I'll use it that way. Like use that credit card. So now I'm in debt rather than having a savings, you know? So yeah, and there were a few times I'm like, yep, you're in debt. There's the red sign right there. You know, I actually was sitting talking about something that I think is also relevant too. I think we were talking about shame versus guilt.
Yeah.
And just thinking about like when you have to take corrective measures, walking around moping because you feel like if you're joyous and you're stepping on your toes and you're walking, but you still messed up like a couple seconds ago, like you're supposed to be guilty, like you're supposed to walk around moping, feeling ashamed, and everybody else, this is in my crazy mind, everybody else is gonna be like, wait, you just messed up. You don't have no space to be walking around, you know, like excited and happy. What are you excited about? You just messed up. We tell ourselves that. Like we tell ourselves that all the time. All the time. But if I'm really divine, then what I'm telling myself is, yeah, you messed up, but hey, I'm actually what do you call it? Breakdancing over here because I get another opportunity to kind of change that, not kind of, but to change that. And I feel joy because guess what? I'm not over here thinking about ending my life because I want to run away from the truth. So I feel like I can't do it because then I would not be divine. It means that I would not have like a divine nature if like I'm at the point where it's like, okay, there's no change. I can't change. It's not, then I'm not divine. Then I'm not made from a perfect seed, you know? And that's not true. That's like the adversary telling us like, you ain't what you think you are, you know?
I just had a thought. It's like that you ain't ish. You ain't never gonna be ish. Like that constant, like, you know, kind of telling you this is what it is, and you're right, it's not true. Yeah.
That what you just said is so powerful. That whole like really recognizing like you do have an opportunity to get it right, and I think that is the excitement. Like I know for some of us, like after these bills, there is an excitement because, oh man, I see the connection, or I'm seeing the the opportunity to develop and to grow and to move beyond where we've been cut off, and I know, like, just experiencing it on the outside or learning sometimes with others who are outside of maybe I knew, it's like they've lost that excitement for life. And I can see where that would come from. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not recognizing, like, yeah, you may have done some things in the past that's effed up or kind of messed you up, but if you've had the opportunity to have someone grace you with a better way of doing things or to correct you, then yeah, there's an excitement still for life because you still have more to create. You have more to bring forward, but that's a powerful, I would say, perspective to have.
Yeah, and keeping it there, because if you don't, then it's possible to succumb to that whispery voice, the whisperer, that's saying, or the Jezebel, that's saying, like, no, this is what it is. This is what you are. This is who you are. So just accept it. Like, there's no editing for you. Because that can put you in a space where it's like, I'm just going to end it now if I can't change. And then what are you doing? You're extinguishing something that the Creator brought forth and said, like, I need this question to be answered. Then you are the Jonah, like, oh, just throw me overboard. I can't accomplish it. I can't do it. Just giving up. And then what you also said, Miranda, it made me think of the two things. One of them came out, I think, House of Yuya, y'all put it out, like, it was an excerpt, the rod of correction, and that idea of, like, being present. Because say you just, we just messed up, but then we do get that opportunity to get correction, whether it be directly from that sun or even one of the moons, like, reflecting, okay, well, this is what it is. But then being appreciative of the correction in the moment, because then once it's over, it's like, okay, well, now I know what to do. And then you can just go and skip and tra-la-la-la-la off into the field, because you experienced it, you received the correction, like, openly, without, like, you don't have to walk around like, oh, woe is me.
In addition to that, like, I'll add a Kotiyafi. Some people, they're in a space of sorrow because of that experience of being told. And it could be just rejecting critique, but it could also be really like, I messed up again, once again. Okay, let's just dig a hole, another pit, another 10 feet down in this pit that I'm already standing in, and then you start digging and you find yourself further down. And there's a piece in scripture that speaks about the difference between the sorrow of Peter when he became redemptive versus the sorrow of Judah, right? And Judah's sorrow was so deep, but not redemptive, and not redemptive in that, not that he didn't regret it, because remember when he sold Yahushua, he sold him and he took the money, but then it's not until afterward he went back to the temple and he kind of hurled it to them, the people who gave it to him, and he was like, no, I don't want this, keep it. And they threw it back to him. They're like, no, you already did the deed already. You take the money. Well, he had blood on his hands. He committed suicide. Like, so there's a difference between the worldly sorrow and what is like righteous sorrow, in that it takes us to a place where we're like, we want to change. We acknowledge, like, yeah, I did this, it was wrong. But there is that, it isn't so deep and sorrowful, like, I can't change, I can't, like, it's not you rejecting reproof, you're receiving it, but it's like you don't see there's a way for you to change. You don't see there's a way for you to even grow or be better. And I do think that some people are in that place of depression where, and I'm not talking about, I don't know, it might be you, it might be not you, it might have been you for a moment, it might have been me for a moment, but they're so deep that there's no place or space for just shame. It's guilt and sorrow, and it's very much worldly. And I say it's worldly because there is no acknowledging that there is a creator inside of me who made me the way I am, and I can actually touch back to the original seed of what I was so that I can grow.
Yeah, and I can say I've been in that space. Like everything is just woe is me, and I don't even like everything is dying around me, like not literally and physically. I won't even say figuratively, literally and physically. Like everything is dying around me. Nothing is right, and very hard to like reach back and touch that God like piece of me, like because you just don't want to, in a sense, because it's like you're so focused on. I was so focused on, this is how I feel right now. I don't like this feeling, but I don't see any way of feeling any better or grabbing happiness, or and this is what it is. So I'm just gonna stay in this hole.
Think about the importance of repentance too. I think she spoke about like it becomes PTSD when you're being chastised, you're being rebuked, but that's for you to turn around. But if you don't go through that process, then you are going to be traumatized and get down and feel like, oh, I feel guilty. But I think the point of being destroyed is so that you can come out as that phoenix and you're moving differently, but yeah, that's how I look at it. But I think that like having that shame and having that chastisement is a good thing, because it does cause you to change and to grow. But I think when we're guilty or we're stuck in that feeling like, oh, I can't receive this correction, it's because we really believe that we cannot change. We don't have this divine aspect of ourselves that we can just turn around like, you know what, I'm this, so I just go back to being my true nature. But when that's not there, then it's like you're gonna feel guilty. And
he was saying that in Apology Power, like we apologize in a moment because it negates the behavior or whatever it is we did that was not in alignment with right behavior. It negates it, and it actually like it realigns us to, that's not his words, these are just like, this is not verbatim, please, but it kind of makes us touch back to our divine selves. Like it makes us it kind of pulls us back into the template of the divine that he created for us. So but if we delay the apology, it just kind of separates us from our true self more and more and more, and I feel it. Like I could feel it, I could see it when just like listening to the message today and just pausing to go back to what were the things that were not in alignment for me, whether it was something I said or did or how I function. And I had to pause and say, yeah, I could see myself, whether I embrace that joy and I could feel, yeah, I'm reconnected back to the Yah that I know is my creator, or there's just like that distance, right? And you could see it. I show up in, I can say it for me, it'll show up in a skipped affirmation or skipped prayer. And when I say skip, not meaning just like, oh, I skipped the dawning or I skipped the nighttime prayer. Like I know I'm being called to just close my eyes or walk into a space of affirmation in the moment, and I just don't do it. Or something else pulls my attention away. So those things I recognize as that pulling away from that divine self, where it's like, okay, no matter who's calling, you pause for real. But if you don't pause and you kind of delay it and you say, okay, I'm gonna do this prayer in a couple seconds, let me get this thing done right away, right now, like that's the distancing, I think. I can't for everyone, but that's part of the distancing. And again, it goes back to what he has said, do it in the moment.
I can relate to affirming in the moment, because I had to do that this strong. I had I wasn't honest in something I was sharing with Chief, and afterwards I was convicted, so I had to confess, and then like reap the the consequences of that. But afterwards, I just found myself like affirming, like just saying, I am a child of Yah. I do have the spirit of truth, and I was crying. I was just like, I rebuke you, you liar, you So I just was like going in, but I had to affirm in that moment, like, you not this person, like you are a truthful person. Like I had to just affirm it, But yeah, I can definitely relate to having to stop everything and just speak it.
You talked about the holding on to things, and I think about Chief has shared this, and I can't remember the name of the segment. It might have been shared in older segments too, but like he speaks about like people holding on to parts of you that you have evolved or changed from, or parts of yourself that you're probably battling with to evolve or grow from. And I'm talking about myself, like, because there are parts of me, and I say parts, not just like character or personality, but also things that I guess celebrated before. Like we could go back to celebrations, different things that we did before. And I do have sisters who are close to me in that way. And I don't respond to the birthdays and so on. They still do those things, but at this point they shouldn't be, but they do it just because, again, it's holding on to an older version of who I was. And Chief has shared this with me as well, like years before, and sometimes it still shows up. They're holding on to a younger version, or they're holding on to the childlike aspect of who we are, and not like relinquishing that, so that they can constantly, like just, that's how they stay connected. They stay connected to you from that version. So every conversation, every dialogue, everything there, it will always be infused with that version of yourself. They're still holding on to that and not really embracing the newer version of who you are. And that may very well be true for your aunts and your mom, because I know it's true for my mother. I know that for sure, and my father as well. Yeah. He called me a name the other day, and I was like, okay, I'm 45. You don't need to use that term. And he was like, you're still that to me. And at one point I was like, all I said was, honor your mother and father. That's all I said. Like, what else can I say other than honor them and keep it moving? I can't, like, I'm not gonna sit here and go back and forth. But I do know many times it is that adversary. Many times it is that, like, that part that we have to battle with, where there are other people holding on to this version of us, and we have to completely, like, remove ourselves from it, and I think of, it's a hard thing to think of, that piece that talks about, like, hate your father and your mother and love not the world, like, yeah, I think about that because those things come up, and then I'm like, honor your mother and father. So I'm like, okay.
I think this is a beautiful space to be able to build and to be able to discuss these things as they're coming up in, each and every one of our lives. Like, I think what I have found is that a lot of the questions that I know I used to have, or a lot of the things that we're exploring, concepts and ideas that we're exploring, it's very difficult to find that outside of I knew. And so it's just another, like, this build, of course, for me, I know it's just another opportunity to be grateful, because there was a time where I wanted to have conversations like this with people, and sometimes they'll be saying stuff like, well, it's not that deep. It ain't that deep. Like, why you thinking about that? Or why are you even, or maybe they couldn't have the conversation. But, it's this right here for us to be able to come together and to share and to, build and build. It's a beautiful thing. And it's something worthy of, when we say, well, how do we spend our Sabbath? How do we spend our time together? We were able to do this, and this is beautiful, so I'm thankful for you all, and I'm thankful for each and every one of you sharing and allowing me to come in and share.
Yeah.
Thanks for as well. Yeah.
Mhm.
And
I
Say,
get that.
myself, I'm so very ready for on in-person Sabbaths. You don't even understand. So I hear what you're saying 100%. I love all what you just said. Thank you so much. I appreciate all that you got to share on this video call. But I am so ready to just be side by side with everyone, whether it's on the land or in our backyard or whatever. And I know you are too because you are heading where we are. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing to look
okay.
forward to.
Awesome. Thanks.